Hello there and welcome to another session on the program Global Parliament. I am Vivian Idekwe for your guide. And going straight into the business of the day, we have our updates on the news segment.
All is set for election into the Bureau of the Pan-African Parliament. In a letter addressed to clerks of the national parliaments, the clerk of the Pan-African Parliament, PAP, Lindiwe Kumalo, issued a notice pursuant to Rule 31 of the Pan-African Parliament Rules of Procedure 2011, stating that an extraordinary session of the 6th Parliament of the Pan-African Parliament will hold from the 20th to 27th March 2024. The session is scheduled to take place at its headquarters in Midrand, Republic of South Africa. Nigeria, with its abundant solar and wind resources, could leverage the existing relationship with Finland to tap from its expertise in sustainable energy solutions and green technology. Chairman Senate Committee on Navy, Senator Gbenga Daniel, said this at an event to celebrate decades of friendship between the two countries.
Finland's expertise in technology and innovation aligns well with Nigeria's ambition to develop a thriving tech industry. By fostering collaboration in fields of information technology, digital innovation, and entrepreneurship, we can promote the exchange of knowledge and skills, ultimately driving economic growth and creating opportunities for our citizens.
We work very well, closely with the Federal Ministry of Education, and even closer, I would say, with many of your state governments, the ministries of education in various states. There is cooperation ongoing between universities. TED Fund is active, has concluded memoranda of understanding with Finnish institutions. There's much interest, especially in technical and vocational education and training, in integration of technical and vocational studies and entrepreneurship skills in academic education, both on the secondary and at the secondary and the tertiary level. And I think this is a key future topic for any society.
Members of Saudi Arabia Parliament, known as the Shura Council, have visited the President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, towards deepening of bilateral relationship in areas of mutual interest. The visit, under the auspices of the Saudi Arabia-Nigeria Parliamentary Friendship Group, is working out ways to enhance relationship between the parliaments of the two countries towards expanding cooperation on economic fronts, security, education, among others.
Our relationship today has gone beyond pilgrimages.
I want you to take Nigeria as a major focal point. You should highlight the need for Nigeria to leverage on this opportunity to intensify engagement for mutual benefit, and that is through inviting you to do more investment in Nigeria, whether in the gas sector, whether in the aviation, oil and gas, or any of the ventures, even in the ICT, because you mentioned that one of your delegates is a major guru in the ICT industry. So we'll be very happy to have a lot of investment even in the ICT sector.
Acting chairman of the Saudi Nigeria Parliamentary Friendship Group, Abdullah Hamad Al-Salama, expressed optimism that the relationship will make easy investments, noting that Saudi Arabia has more activities in Nigeria than other countries in Africa.
Our trade minister will visit the country soon, and there is a huge points to be discussed, and by your support and your team, we will pass all of the difficulty. Also, a team from Department of Energy just visited the country last few days ago. The most important to push the relation for more successful level, to ease the investment, to make the investment is with a surely environment. They will also discuss a matter regarding to avoid double taxation and so on and so forth.
Thank you, NF, for that update. We go all the way to Somaliland, where we have our guests, and I'm sure you are as eager to hear from her as I am. Let's take a listen. Hello and welcome to this segment, our one-on-one segment on Global Parliament. And today we've gone all the way to Somalia, and we have with us Senator Naima Hassan. She is a senator of the Federal Republic of Somalia. You're welcome to Global Parliament.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me here.
We're glad you could make out time to be with us on the program.
Of course, of course.
Thank you so much. Before we go into further discussions, tell us a little about yourself and the committee that you're heading at the Senate.
As you said, of course, Senator Naima Hassan. I'm a new parliamentarian member who was elected at the end of 2021. It's my first time being in politics. And I'm a mother. And I'm also a diaspora who grew up in the Western world, especially in Europe, the Netherlands. Moved to Somalia with a child 12 years ago. The reason of my moving was because I grew up in Somalia, born in Mogadishu, the capital. I've never lost a sense of culture and religion, and I want my child to have the same. After 12 years of moving back to Somalia, I never looked back. I never looked back. So finally, I end up in the parliament. So here I am.
Congratulations, first attempt in politics, and you are at the parliament.
Yes.
How is that going?
When you're outside the system, even if you're working as a technical person, which I was, it's very different than when you are inside the circle. When you're outside, you think, you believe that the people who are representing you are not doing enough, or not doing their extent of their power. But when you're finally inside the dynamic of the politics, it's a different story. Especially as a woman, you finally, now I understand, I have a different perspective of how the inside politicians in the political system in Somalia is. As a woman, there's a lot of challenges. Even though a lot of times we do have the support of our colleagues and our government system, but still it's not enough. I'm sure Nigeria can relate the same. A lot of times culture, it's more powerful than being modern and being democratic system. And we use religion as an excuse in so many ways. But of course, it's culture above everything. So we are battling and we are fighting for a fight with the African culture system. So Somalia is no different than Nigeria.
I agree with that. You are heading the Committee on Judiciary, Rule of Law, Human Rights, Religious Affairs, Women and Children Rights.
Yes.
That is a whole lot to take on.
Yes.
How are you handling this?
Taking day by day, one issue at a time. And of course, I don't have a law background, but I do have a humanitarian background that I've worked on. I used to work with UNHCR when I was just moved into Somalia in Hargeisa. But a lot of people believe I have a law degree. That's why I was put in this. I was elected for this committee, but I wasn't. So I have to pull my natural women, motherly gear to navigate through the Somali system. And so far we are doing good, but of course we have challenges from everywhere.
Would you like to share some of those challenges?
Yes, of course. the most challenges are, for example, religion affairs. That's a sector that mainly dominated by men. All our ulama and shuyukhs, majority of are men. Automatically, people assume that I have a religion background, or I'm a sheikh, or I'm a have a Islamic degree, which of course I don't. Or I need to be dressed or put a religious, more covered clothing to present the religion. So I do face challenges on that area. Women, African women, Somali women, we have a lot of challenges in our country, especially in the political system. We are lucky enough in Somalia to have certain seats are blocked for women, and the government and the international community and civil society work together to meet the 30% quota for women in the parliament. But we haven't reached the 30% yet, and we're aiming for that. Why? Because even politics are dominated by men, and we are undermined. We are undermined as a woman. We are undermined as an educated person. We face challenges for our voice to be heard, and representing women, representing young women, representing mothers, and especially with the community that I lead. We face challenges from the health sector, from the education sector, from women to have rights in their own body. Challenges that Somalia faces are even not to have access in the healthcare. That doesn't mean that women don't have hospitals or clinics to go to. It doesn't mean when we say they don't have access to healthcare, it means they don't have the authority and the allowance and degree to have say of what happens to their body. If I give you an example, when women are giving birth, sometimes they face challenges and they have to go through a cesarean. She cannot write, she cannot agree, and she cannot sign to have the cesarean. Her husband has to approve. If he is not available, then his father has to approve. If he is not available, his brother has to approve. You see, nobody from her family. If the brother is not there, then the traditional leader or the tribe leader from their own community, from the husband's community, have to approve for that woman, her life and the life of the child to be saved. So those are the challenges that we face. Somalia also faces challenges, even though, let me correct myself, that the system is getting better and we are trying to build a system where even community policing are women, and they trained to women to have a voice and to come forward. Like when women are validated and abuse happens to them as a young girl, so even as a woman, a lot of times they don't come forward because of the stigma, because of not being believed. So those are the challenges that we're facing. For the person who validated them to be taken to court, it's very challenging in Somalia.
Sure, having women representatives like yourself in the parliament is adding to the fight and also making some inroads into getting some of these things redressed.
Yes, but we as a parliamentarian, parliamentarian women, we cannot do alone. We need a whole army of community. We need the policing, and we need the security sector, and we need the traditional leaders, and we need the ulamas, the community leaders, and we need the government, even as high as the president. So to connect the dots, the civil society, don't forget the civil society. We need an army of people to put their hands together. And we are heading to that direction, but we're still not there yet.
We wish you all the best in that,
Thank
and
you.
we know, of course, it's one step at a time.
Yes.
One step at a time.
Yes.
And in the course of talking, you said something about having seats reserved for women in the national parliament of your country.
Mm-hmm.
Nigeria has been trying, Nigerian women,
Yes.
CSOs, have been trying to get this replicated here,
Mm-hmm.
going by the successes in countries like Rwanda and even Liberia close by. What other strategies should Nigeria be looking at to make sure that this actually comes to true?
I'm sure Nigeria has the same system as Somalia. We both federal system.
Yes,
Federal system. So what Somalia does is, we represent regions, different regions of Somalia. It's the same as Nigeria.
Okay.
So Somalia, what they do is every region are expected to block seats for women. So if one region has, for example, 26 seats of the parliament, 30% of them is expected to be blocked for women, and only women can compete in those seats, no men. So I think Nigeria can take an example of that and push. Somalia did not get there easily. It took a long time. Even now, it's not in the constitution. It's just an agreement.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's not a
Like-
constitutional thing.
It's not.
Nigeria was trying to get this in through the constitution.
We are trying to. At the moment, we are working on the constitution to be finalized. So we are trying to get that women quota in the constitution. But so far, it's what we call a gentleman agreement, and it's working. But we haven't reached the 30% yet. So I think, to go back to your question, I think Nigeria needs to push that, to push the seats to be blocked for women only, and not necessarily to reach the 30% or even higher. Just start slowly, even if it's 10%, and then next time it can be added, and eventually we'll reach. I'm very optimistic that we'll reach there, even in Somalia.
Those with disabilities are also arguing that they should be reserved some certain percentage, so that those are reserved just for them. Do we need to go that route?
We can. Like Somalia, we don't have people with disability to be included in the parliament. Of course, they're not discriminated against. If somebody has disability, they cannot run. But it can be also included in the constitution, because even people with disability have rights, and they're just like you and me. Yes.
Okay, so let's look at legislative responses to climate change, COVID-19, and other emerging issues. These challenges have posed a lot of, they've come with so much that governments at different levels had to grapple with. Could you share the Somali experience with us?
Well, COVID-19 was a challenge a global challenge for everybody. Of course, Africa was hit the hardest because of the lack of awareness and a lack of medication and vaccination at the end. But climate change in general is a dilemma that Africa is facing, especially Somalia. At the moment, we have challenges and very serious issues with the flooding. So when the rainy season comes, we have serious problems with the flooding. A lot of regions are affected very hard. When the rainy season is over, and then we have the drought. And that's also another challenge. So that's all caused by climate change. So I think Somalia and Nigeria and even Africa as a global, we need to do better with the awareness and educating our people and on how to be prepared and how to reach out to the communities that have no access to media and internet and awareness. I think if we can put our hands together, we can get there as Africans.
Right. So you are on a visit to Nigeria.
Yes.
Why the choice of Nigeria?
Why we chose Nigeria?
Yeah.
Oh God, why not? Well, I want to take this opportunity first of all to thank our international friends and the UN, especially UNFPA, who allow us and made it possible for us to visit Nigeria. When the discussion was taking place to where the female parliamentarians of Somalia can get an exposure of knowledge and skills changing, Nigeria was on the top. Why? Because Nigeria and Somalia, we have a lot of similarity that people don't know. We both have a federal system. We both have a different tribal that we also have sometimes challenges. That we have the religion in African continent, of course. We both have the women parliamentarian, that women needs to be in the power and in the decision-making table. So there's a lot of similarity that Africa and the Somalia and Nigeria has. Another point that we discussed was I think Africa is waking up slowly. Africa is realizing if we don't put our hands together as Africans, nobody's out there saving us. We were very humbled to choose Nigeria, our brothers, our African brothers. I believe it was, for us, was much better than being proposed to go to the Western world, where we have nothing in common. We have nothing to relate to. So it's very, very important for the Somali government and Somali parliamentarians to go to our neighboring countries and to go to the African counterpartners and brothers to learn from them, from each other, because we have so much in common that we are not realizing. And we need to set an example. We need to set an example for our fellow countrymen, and we need to set an example for our fellow continent partners.
That's very thoughtful, and we are glad you visited the giants of Africa.
I am so happy to be here. This is my first time in Nigeria. Yeah.
And I hope the food, you're settling with the food, right?
I am loving it.
Thank you. Thank you. So let's talk about you. You've met different groups. You've been to at the National Institute of Legislative and Democratic Studies.
Yes.
You were also to the leadership of the National Assembly.
Yes.
What did you discuss, and what are you taking home?
We discussed how women need to be empowered. We exchanged ideas and how to what can we do better for both countries, and we are taking home that we need to strengthen our relationship and our partnership in both political level and the parliamentarian levels.
On this whole visit and the relationship Nigeria-Somalia, what would you like to tell the audience?
I like to tell the audience that Africa is all the same. Whether we are in East Africa or West Africa, we need to all come together. We need to put our hands together and think for ourselves. We should not be waiting for somebody else to think for us and to lead us. We can do it ourselves. The time has come for Africa to waken up.
Nigeria is tackling some security challenges, and I know Somalia has had its own share.
We still have, yes.
Yeah, so the role of the parliamentarian in sustainable security in Africa.
Somalia and Nigeria both facing security challenges, whether it's Boko Haram or Al-Shabaab. Especially, I think more in a larger sense to Somalia, we're still fighting Al-Shabaab. Thank God our current government, especially our current president, Dr. Hassan Sheikh Mohamud, made this one of his main agenda to fight Al-Shabaab. At some points, sometimes even he goes to the front and leaves his office to take the lead. I think awareness again, because awareness of the youth, education, keeping the youth busy. So of poisoning ideas will not put in their mind. It's the way we can handle and fight the terrorists. Yes. I think the way forward is to train our youth, women and men, from a young age to become political leaders and to become leaders. The problem that Africa has is when we reach the age of 40, or even sometimes older, that's when we realize, oh, I need to be in politics, or I need to be running for this seat and for that seat, while not having any prior experience on how to lead and how to become a politician. So I think as Africans, we need to start training our young politicians, start them at young age and training them. I remember when I was in Holland, there's a youth parliament all over Europe, and they do a lot of trainings, and it's just the parliament are large in a smaller size, where they are led by youth, by university students and by high school students, and they do the same job as the senior parliamentarians. So that's an example that we can take. We can develop youth parliamentarians, and they can work on issues that they can handle, or for example, environmental or youth programs that will train them, and they will train their mentality and how to lead and what issues and how to address. I think that's the way forward.
Thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure. Thank you.
So we have been talking with Senator Naima Hassan of the Senate of the Federal Republic of Somalia. The program Global Parliament continues. And that concludes this session of Global Parliament. I am Vivian Idekwe. Do remember to follow this program and other episodes of our programs on the platforms showing on your screen. On behalf of the production crew, see you next week.